And you are listening to the Old Tube Radio Network.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen,
Greetings to you.
wherever you are, for music and the latest news from home and from afar, the station for you is
OTR, Old Tube Radio.
the station for you is
OTR.
And we hope the station for you is OTR. That's the Old Tube Radio Network. Real radio is glowing in the dark in our 34th year or thereabouts of checking in, listening for, and talking to our tube radio operators and the collectors here in the Central Valley of California. 27085, our frequency of choice, and we're hoping to hear your radio, OTR listening.
74. 45. 37.
All right, we've got 3 to start us off. There will be more tonight. Hopefully some of your favorites will be checking in tonight, whether it be Lafayette or Tram, Sonar, Browning. We'll see what we can do. We've got SWL 37 will be coming to you, Chris. 45, Paul, you will be after SWL 74. Let's head over. Let's head up to Madera Heights for SWL 74, 25, and the whole gang over there. Hello.
Go ahead. It's a Model G. Actually, it's Sonar Model G, and I think this is a model. I don't know what I am, but anyway. It's the other one that's on frequency, Jerry. Anyway. Yeah, I'm calling for my 50,000 watt Madera radio on my Sonar Model G.
The Sonar Model G, as in golly G. We're going to, and hello, Jill. It's good to hear you on the microphonium tonight, and sounding great, sounding perfectly modulated on the Model G. An old tube radio, doing it justice. We'll go back over to you in the big control room there on the 50,000 watt microphonium.
Oh, Mr. D, it's so good to hear your voice. I haven't heard your voice in a long time. I haven't been out here in the man cave with the Model G in a long time. So, anyway, back to you.
All right, sounding good. I was in your stomping grounds a little while ago. As you know, I guess it's the first floor, the multi-floor building there on Shaw, moving things out, moving everybody around, and so Chris told us we could come by and pick up any of the stuff that they weren't going to keep, and we actually found some things that might work for our little FM radio station. So we appreciate that, and hope. I know how it gets confusing and a little bit out of sorts when you have to move people around, but hope all is going well out that way.
I'm always good. I don't mind being moved around. Jerry's always moving me around anyway. That's okay. It's like moving me from this FM to that FM, so I'm good. Anyway, back to you, sweetie.
All right, thanks for keying up the Model G. That's our first radio of the evening, the Sonar Model G. And did you know, originally when that was out on the market, it was $229.50 for all that. When and I think you probably only gave you one crystal. It's sounding good. I hope you can hear the replay, whether it's on the Old Tube Radio archives or maybe watching the video, but a great way to get it started out. Good to hear you in the Radio Shack tonight. Thank you, Jerry, for that, and Jill as well at the microphonium. Back to you for another transmission before we head over to Paul up on the hill, who I know is enjoying hearing your voice as well. SWL 74, back to you. Thanks for checking in.
Well, it got a little cold out here for her, but this is the other Model G that has the internal speaker built into it, and I'm looking right at the frequency counter, and boy, it's right on 27085. Not unlike the other one, and now that I have them stacked on top of each other, there's another peculiar difference. Is the other one had like a porcelain, or can we say a pot for a crystal on the face, and this one does not. But this one does have the internal speaker, so there's no need for an external speaker, if that makes sense. So anyway, other than that, they're identical, and the meter is working good, and this radio, I'm surprised the radio is working as good as it is, considering I haven't fired it up in about 3 or 4 years. It's got great receive. Anyway, thanks, Dennis, for checking it in, and I know Jill had fun doing it, too. Back to you.
Oh, yeah. We all had fun here, including, where's Scooter? Say hi, Scooter. Scooter says, we like to hear everybody on the radio. The Model G, boy, you will be pleased at how loud and great the old Sonar Model G is sounding. A lot of our listeners out there are very well aware of the good quality and the reputation that Sonar has for the good signal and great audio, even with the stock microphonium. Thanks for bringing it by. We will head over to our second radio tonight. Chris is standing by in the green room, but we're going to head over to, or up to North Fork, and Paul, SWL 45, has got something for us tonight. Hello, Paul.
Yeah, Dennis. I've got a general radio telephone, SB.
Oops, it cut out just, or maybe you're hitting my noise blinker. I'll have to check. The general radio telephone, and I didn't get the model number. I think you said SB, over.
SB 72.
Okay, SB 72, which I think if it's an SB model, we know that the VS is the vibration service for general radio telephone, the MC, the master control series, and the SB, I think that had something to do with sideband, over.
Yes, sir. Sideband radio. I'm not saying it was first, but it's got to be close, yeah. It's called a sideband S72. And it's got a lot of money on it. You can put a lot of money on it there. It's got back. So hard, you have a lot of trouble with it, as you can understand, with a first sideband radio. And you got to go with the talk for it. I know you can fill me in on some of this. Back to you, Dennis.
Okay, we'll do that. It sounds like the audio is almost a control carrier sometime. Like something isn't quite making contact somewhere. The audio, when it's there, is nice and loud, but this is actually a signal, a carrier issue. And I was looking at the S meter, and I'm not sure if that has, I don't think that's the way they were made, where they had like a suppressed sideband, or suppressed AM carrier rather, like the Regencies. And it's doing that just a little bit. Sometimes you'll come in and it'll be clear. So I think what's happening is the AM carriers cutting out or suppressing, but you are loud. You are radio number 2 with the SB72. We are showing, if you're watching the video or you're at oldtuberadio.net, you will see a picture of a very rare general radio telephone, the SB72. From 1963, the general radio telephone model SB72, 13-tube single sideband transceiver. General was way ahead of the times when they built that radio in 63, especially for 11 meters. The radio is one of the first single sideband 11-meter radios produced in America. It has 24 channels with upper sideband, lower sideband, of course, in the AM. The receiver's dual conversion, and it has, I did not know this, it has the Collins mechanical filter. I'm not sure if that's for AM or sideband. I suppose if it was AM, it would be a 6 kilohertz filter. If it's sideband, it might actually be a 3 kilohertz filter. Let me go back to you, Paul. See how the radio is sounding. If it's a little bit more stable on the carrier, over.
Okay, I'll probably have a little problem. I didn't check my battery when I did. I'm running a Turner Edge AM plus 2U on the thing, or U2 on it. And I didn't check my battery. I should have done it. That's probably what's happening. Anyway, this thing has a Collins mechanical filter, which is great for the receiver. You're crystal clear on the thing. Of course, you sound good anyway, but excellent. So, and it sold for $599.50. So it's pretty high dollar radio back then. And that's about all I got to add to the thing here. I think everything else is on the front. It's citizen band with a Civil Air Patrol in there, trying to read off the thing, and just got 13 tubes. It's got a lot of tubes in it. So anyway, back to you, Dennis.
Yeah, typically the sideband radios had to have a few extra tubes for the double side, or the modulator, and the, what do they call it, the product detector, 6AQ5 and your double sideband modulator. By the way, that was a perfect transmission that time, 100%. Took a look at the S-meter, and it was right up there, so the signal carrier was right where it should be. And boy, it is loud when it's hanging in there. No problem at all. I don't see a price point on it, but I would believe it, that they were around $600. I suppose in 1963, unless you were running some modified amateur radio gear, which in 1963 there wasn't a lot of sideband stuff going on, but for amateur people, but a heck of a lot more than there was for 11 meters. That be a little bit hard to talk on sideband unless you had somebody that had the SB72. There weren't a lot of radios out there, so something they tried, and obviously, since there was no sideband in any of their other models added, and there was not an SB, as far as I know, there was not like an SB74 or 75. They kind of tried it and said, well, maybe next time. But it has the look. It has that master control look to it. Very rare radio and sounding good. And like you said, you're enjoying the Collins mechanical filters and that super heterodyne receiver. Radio number 2, the General Radio Telephone SB72. Back to you, Paul, for another transmission. Let's see if it's still hanging in there.
Okay. They're going dead on the thing. But no, it's a real neat video. I say it's got all kinds of lights on it. Heater, angle. Not a real large video, but it's small. It's about 6 inches or better tall. And over 13 too. It's got to be pretty well stacked in. Anyway, that's about it. Thanks a million for checking it in, Dennis.
Okay, yeah, it's interesting. What's happening is on that transmission, like some of the first ones, when you key the microphone, you're getting no or very low dead key or unmodulated carrier, and then when you introduce audio into the microphone, like sideband, it adds the carrier, or it adds your modulation will modulate the carrier up as if it were a sideband, but of course it's adding the carrier, and the sidebands are there as well, so not quite sure what's doing that. So it's not a microphone thing. I don't think I think your microphone is fine. The battery is fine. This is actually the carrier that's being suppressed. And I'm assuming that that's not supposed to be like that. It might be just a switch, your function switch. You might rotate that around. Or maybe there's a tube in there or two that needs to be reseated. But the transmission before that was perfect. And then this one had the anomaly, which you will be able to hear if you listen to the archives, but not a problem. Thanks for bringing by the very rare, I might add. Anybody who's a general radio telephone aficionado will know this is one rare radio, the SB72. Over.
Okay, well, I'll be able to archive the sound right. I can figure out what it is. It's not right about the tubes, but just needs to go through the whole thing, and hopefully you'll find the pros. Thanks, Dennis, for checking it in.
All right, that one started out with the suppressed carrier, but it ended with the full carrier. And I'm assuming, since I'm seeing that on the meter, if you have an external watt meter or something, you probably wouldn't want it on PEP because it would show the PEP. But a watt meter where you can check RMS, you will probably see that occasionally your unmodulated carrier goes way down there, but the audio, when you modulate it, comes back up. An interesting device. There were some radios that ran suppressed carrier, like the Regency and the range gain, and there were ways to modify it, too. I remember some guys modifying the E.F. Johnsons like that, so you couldn't really throw a carrier unless you were modulating, but I don't think that one's supposed to do that. The General Radio Telephone SB72 from 1963. Thanks for bringing it by here on the Old Tube Radio Network. All right, stepping up on the platform, and he's ready. That would be Mr. Chris, SWL37. Hello, radio.
Hey, hello, Dennis. SWL37 here. Well, Dennis, we're going to check in our general radio telephone, the Super MC11A, 24 channel, like his also, but a different model. But this is the MC11, and it's got 24 channels, said that, and we are running this here with the handheld stock microphone.
And sounding good. Yeah, and I know you didn't mind standing by for another general radio telephone from 1963 with sideband and some great audio. Very much like yours, nice and loud. I know from past check-ins that you are running not an amplified microphone, but the supplied standard general radio telephone microphone. It's sounding great. We're going to pop up a picture of the Super MC11A and also listen to your fine station once again.
Well, now, see, mine is different. You can see there the difference. See, mine is on. He had his turned off. And it shows me keyed up. I can see my meter on there. It's actually keyed up. You can see the needle over there. It looks like it's up there about, what would I say that'd be? Roughly a 7 or 8, something like there. F units, and it's got the green background on the light there. Same color in the front, but I got bigger handles.
Okay, do your handles stick out a little bit farther on your MC11A?
Well, no, they're longer from top to bottom. I don't know about sticking out further, but they go from top to bottom further than his. His only goes just a portion of the way, while mine goes all the way top to the bottom.
Okay, the photo that we're showing is from the collection of SWL 135. That is Cliff, Mr. Green Arrow, and that is not unusual when we pop up pictures of the general radio telephones. The rack handles sometimes will protrude a couple inches out rather than 1 inch or so, and then, like you say, they will be, the length of the rack handles will be different. But all of the MC series had the rack handles, like you could carry the thing somewhere, or maybe mount it in a rack. Although I don't see any rack ears, as they call them, for the rack screws. Sounds super loud as always. 9 tubes and 2 transistors. Not their final radio, but I think the MC11A was one of their final radios that was type accepted. Unlike the SB72 with 13 tubes, this had the standard 9 tubes, and of course a little bit more audio with that 6 with the ECLL 800 and the 12AX7A and the mic preamp. Over to you for another transmission. Always love the general radio telephones.
I think Paul does too. I think he's got a few more than I do. I've only got just this one. I think he's got about 3, 4, maybe 5 of them. I don't know. He probably got a whole shelf of them, as far as I know. But he always sounds pretty good on his when he's getting down this way. But anyway, Dennis, that's mine, and I'll turn this one off and get over to another one.
Okay, I want to say he might have 3 or 4 or 500 of them. He has a great collection. And not only that, he has a lot of the general radio telephone accessories. They made some watt meters and test gear as well. So that matched, I think they matched the series, the MC series like that. Thanks for Radio 3 at 8:59 when we checked it in the general radio telephone Super MC11A at the top, past the top of the hour, 9 o'clock hour, the old Tube Radio Network. Here in Fresno, California, Central California, listening to the classic CB radios from 1958 to 1978 when they were glowing in the dark with the tubes. Our jingle singers tell us about your favorite place to be on Saturday night.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you. Wherever you are, your favorite slot on the dial by far is known to you as
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
the station for you is
OTR.
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network, every Saturday at 8 p.m. Pacific Time. 27085 is our frequency, and oldtuberadio.net everywhere else. I want to get a few SWL check-ins who are out there waving a hand now that I've refreshed the page. SWL 13. Mr. Cobra, Mike, hello to you. Thanks for stopping by the Old Tube Radio Network tonight. Also picking up SWL 113. Arlen, good to have Arlen in there out in Wisconsin. Hope all is going well, sir. We get you checked in as well. And you know what I want to do is we'll see who's out on the YouTube video tonight. DD21. Thank you, sir. First one here. He's the first one there. Sorry I missed you. I was sometimes I'm not looking at the right screen, but DD21 watching the video. And, of course, Rich, waving a hand to everybody, as always. And EDA 396, Nashville, Tennessee. Thinking about those glow-in-the-dark tube radios here on the Old Tube Radio Network, and we are looking for radio number 4.
Okay, 25.
Okay, there was two of you in there We've got SWL 25. I think we were actually in there, and then we heard... Was that Chris 37?
Yes, it was.
All right, let me grab my list here. Who was number 3? Chris was 3. So we've got 25... Jerry, let's go. You'll be number 4, and then Chris, you will be number 5 on the list tonight. Let me get over to the next radio list. And Jerry, what have you got for us tonight? Over.
Oh man, I think Paul might have been in there. I heard a 40-something. But anyway, I'll just take a second. This is the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB 2-piece radio on the non-amplified banana mic, and boy, everything's working good. The meter, there's a switch on there if you can go to SWR or modulation. I've got it on SWR, and it's really happy laying down where it's at instead of banging around on the audio side. But anyway, this radio, I've checked it in a million times on it, and I'm surprised it's still working. But I've checked it in now since probably the 90s, I guess the 90s, and it's still doing well. The red on the air light is on just below the Golden Eagle and on the transmit side, and by golly, it seems to be working. By the way, the frequency counter says it's spot on, 28.085. Back to you, Des.
All right, I believe you on the frequency. I'm not even going to do a frequency check on that one. It just sounds so good and so perfect. They are built like a tank, like an old Buick. It's not often that we have a Browning of any sort check in and have wacky problems where someone has to, physically slap the radio to make it work. The Mark III SSB. Oops, there we go. If you're watching the video or joeltubradio.net, there is a classic picture. We got them stacked, but that is for those of us who were around in the day, back in 1972, 73, 74, when that radio was being produced. I don't know if you were like me, but you talked to a lot of people that ran them, but I could never afford one. I was in high school, so that was at what were they, $700, $650 to $750 in 1972. That was definitely not on a high school budget. But thanks to the fact that they were very well built, and there are still a lot of them around. A lot of us now own them, and they're sounding good. And we're glad you brought it by. I've had the opportunity to be in front of that radio and key the microphonium back to you on Radio 4.
Thanks, Dennis. Yeah, I just don't want to take up a bunch of time, but yeah, it's got the spot button so you can, spot the transfer. Kind of coordinate the transmit with the receive, and anyway, good hearing you on Wednesday nights as always, and thank you for this, Nat. And back to you, Dennis.
And yes, indeed, thank you. I've been able to be around the shack here on Wednesday nights to check in the net. What Jerry's referring to here in the Central Valley of California, we have a Wednesday night local net, amateur radio net on 10 meters. For those of you locally that like to listen in or check in if you have your amateur radio license, or maybe some of you out there listening can get in on the short E-skip. It's at upper sideband, of course, at 28,445, and I wish I gave you the UTC, but I'll give you the Pacific time. That's 8 o'clock Pacific time on Wednesdays at 28,445 upper sideband. Give it a listen and check in if you can. Radio 5 is coming up. That is Chris, but I want to just take a moment, Chris, and see. Paul, were you out there with the radio check-in? Over. Okay, we'll get everybody in order. want to get in as many as possible. We are here through 10 o'clock tonight, taking your radio check-ins. Thanks, Sherry, for the... is that our first Browning? Yeah. First Browning of the evening, the Mark III. A good one to boot. Radio number 5. Hello, 37.
And hello, Dennis. And Jerry, you always sound good down here. I don't know what tick you're doing out there. You must have got a little goat out there in the backyard running around in circles to keep the power going out that way. Doing something right, but anyway, sounding good. Anyway, I'm going to check in my Courier Royale, a 23-channel tuber that glows in the dark with the blinking lights and all the mysterious knobs all over the radio in front and back. And we're running here also with the amplified D104 Lollipop.
Good choice of microphoniums for that radio, sounding very nice. Good audio on the Courier, the Royale. Let's get a picture of it. This is a good radio for photographs. Lots of knobs, lots of lights. I wish we had a photo of one that was actually in operation, because I would like to see some of those lights going, and the dial light as well. What is that, gold? Purple and gold? I'm sure that it probably has like violet and mustard. There's probably a proper name for the colors on there, but it is a Courier Royale. Back to you.
I think it's more like a lavender color. You know, it's not really a dark purple or anything, but it's more of a lavender. And then, of course, the gold, and then it has like a polished aluminum goes around it. The whole casing is polished aluminum type thing, front, back, sides, and everything. But, you know, it's like it's got the gold tint, silver tint, and then the lavender. So it seems to do okay.
It's doing great. I understand there was available, and I don't know if it was an extra thing that you had to order or it came with the radio when you got one, some type of a cover that matched the lavender that would go over that with the Royale logo and the crown. So something to look for. But I've heard people speak of that. The Courier Royale that you are hearing from Chris is an 11-tube radio. I think that might have been the last of the Couriers that was tubes. There is a service manual available for that radio at oldtuberadio.com. And if you'd like to hear some great audio, Chris is going to help us out. Radio 5, over to you.
Well, we do as much as we can to see what it does. Everything seems to be working tonight properly, so I'm not going to argue with it.
No, don't press your luck. It's sounding good. It always does. We don't have too much problems with the Courier Royale at all. Radio number 5 here in the Old Tube Radio Network, where we do this every Saturday, starting at 8 p.m. Pacific time, with our friends and radio collectors, just like it might have been back in 1969 or 68 when these radios were around, when you get out, watch your favorite program on TV, and then head over to the radio area in the living room and turn on the set and chat with your friends on CB radio. It doesn't happen a lot these days. Those of you out there know it's like sometimes you think, where did everybody go? But on Saturday nights, we are out here keeping the airwaves alive with those classic tube radios. Over to you, Chris. Thanks for bringing it by.
Okay, and you forgot to say, even before that there, we used to be out here every night.
That's true. We used to be there every night, and a lot of us remember when you had to dial around and try and find a clear frequency. That's true. We used to be there every night, and a lot of us remember. Okay, we already heard that guy. But anyway, I want to wave a hand to our listeners. Speaking of listeners, out there at oldtuberadio.net. Hello to Utah, St. Charles, Indiana's out there, or Iowa rather, listening in. Hello, Visalia and Auberry, Fresno. In California, Rancho Palos Verdes. Might be our friends out there in Manhattan Beach tonight. Wisconsin is in. Arlen's in there. Still listening in from New York, Virginia, North Carolina, Georgia, Texas. Hello to Woodland Park, Colorado, tuning in. San Dimas, California, down there, Southern California, listening in. St. Louis, Missouri. A lot of you who might even have some of these classic radios. Hopefully you do something similar. If it's not just an old tube night, it's a get-on-the-air night. It's kind of fun, and it's something we need to do to promote the band here. I don't think the FCC is going to take it away at any time soon, but sometimes they get antsy. They like to, if you're not using the frequencies, they like to find somebody who's going to use them and pay them lots of money. But I think we might be safe here on 11 meters. We are the Old Tube Radio Network, and we're looking for radio number 6.
Number 7.
All right, we've got a lot of stations here. We've got 37 and 7. Who was the other station? There was somebody else in there first, I think.
84.
And 84. All right, anybody else? All right, here we go. We've got 84. You'll be next. That's Radio 6. Jerry out there. Then we'll go to Ed. You'll be Radio 7. And then over to Chris. You will be Radio 8. Let me fix up my audio controls here so I can get rid of me in the background, because really what we want to hear are those tube radios. Radio number 6 from out there, Clovis Way, I do believe, SWL 84. Hello, Jerry.
Hello, Mr. Dennis. It's good to be back. Excuse me, I'm still getting over the effects of the flu, about your grandma this year, so had it nationwide. But we thought we'd try to blow the dust off of this Johnson Messenger, the 223, plain Jane, no thrills. I shouldn't say thrills, no frills. 3 commobins on it. There's a volume and a squash, and one to the right there's a volume, volume and squash on and off, and the squash and the volume to the right of that, and a modular light that is amber, and a channel selector. And I don't know if this mic is working very well. I've had problems with it before, but we thought we would try it again. It's a TUR +3. Roger.
All right, I'm glad you mentioned the microphonium there, because we are going to talk about that and work on that just a little bit. The microphone is working quite well. And in fact, I'm not sure if that radio, some of the models have a modulation light, some do not. And I'm not sure if the model, when you key it, will show you some RF out of the radio or modulation as well. But what we've got on your E.F. Johnson Messenger 223 is a little bit too much audio, I think. I bet we can clean it up a little bit. So if you've got a gain control on the +3, go ahead and turn it down, not just a little bit, turn it down more than a little bit, and we'll see what happens on the next transmission on the E.F. Johnson Messenger 223.
All right. Yes, on the, it does have a modulation light. It is amber, and it is... Yep, she's blinking like crazy here. So it was up around 10 o'clock, volume control on the Turner +3. Now it's about 8 o'clock. So maybe that helped it out there, Roger.
Yeah, it helped it out considerably. The modulation is better. The intelligibility is better. If you're at 8 and there's a 7, give that a try over.
Oh, well, 7 is actually completely off on this one here. Let's see, 7 is completely off. And it looks like about 5 o'clock is fully wide open. So I'm right in between 7 and 8.
Okay, I would leave it right there. I think you're very loud. The intelligibility is good. I swapped our picture. We have 2, one with the modulation light and one without. And I think you said yours has the modulation light, which is blinking red, which I'm sure it was, because you were quite loud. Maybe too loud is the word. I think the audio is good, the volume is good, and much more understandable now. So that bespeaks of E.F. Johnson's great transmitters, which they were noted for. Those of us who are amateur radio operators have been listening into the guys that run the big E.F. Johnson 70, 80-pound transmitters, the Viking, Ranger, the Messenger. I think there's a Thunderbolt as well. Anyway, they've got some of the big radios that run lots of power. They had to throttle things down to get the 5 watts out of this, but they know how to do their transmitter and get some audio. Back to you for transmission, and sounding good now.
No, thank you, Dennis. Well, that's what you're there for, bringing these old radios back to life with your experience there in audio fidelity expertise there. So
we couldn't do it without you there, Dennis. Definitely couldn't do it. The only way we know something's not working right is when you tell us. Anyway, I thought you said Mr. Ed was out there. Howdy, Mr. Ed, if you're out there. And I thought I heard Mr. Jerry out there also, number 25. You guys take care, have a fine evening, and we'll be eavesdropping for the duration. Roger.
All right, good to hear you back in the radio room. Audio sounds great. Just a reminder that we do archive and record the program so that you can give yourself a radio check. It's easy to do. You can go to oldtuberadio.net. There's an archive button at the top of the page. You click on that. The OTR magnetophone will load all those little 3-inch reel-to-reel tapes. Look for the date that you're looking for. It would be, in this case, February 3rd, 2018, and whether it's a SWL check-in or a radio check-in, and use your media player of choice and dial into the time frame when you checked in, and you will hear the playback as we heard it, as everybody heard it, at oldtuberadio.net, sounding good on the E.F. Johnson radio. I will mention that was a popular player for E.F. Johnson from 1969 to 1972. If you had about $215, you could walk home with one of those with the E.F. Johnson microphonium. Doing a good job, and I like where you've got the audio. Remember that one sounding really nice. And speaking of Mr. Ed, SWL 7, looks like he's going to have Radio 7 for us tonight. Hello, Ed.
And good evening, Dennis, and it was good hearing 84 Jerry out there. A Messenger 223, just like the last one, only this one with the Silver Eagle D104.
And also sounding nice in the audio department. Has a little bit more, I'll say, high frequency or treble, which the D104 often does. And we're going to swap the picture out. Let me get rid of the control room picture here. We have already seen that guy, but we're going to go over to the other version of the 223 that is minus. If you remember our prior picture there with the modulation light, this one does not have the modulation light. I think that pretty much mimics the one you have there on the radio table. Over.
Oh, that would be correct. This one does not have the modulation light. Not sure when they put it in, why they put it in, or why they didn't or took it out. I'm not sure. But now also the knobs on mine have some buffalo nickels that have been glued in place instead of the other markers on there.
I keep forgetting yours has some great modifications. It's been a long time since I've seen a buffalo nickel. I think I used to have a collection with the Mercury Head dimes and the buffalo nickels and the true copper pennies and some other things, and I don't know if I still have them or what happened to them, or if someone decided they wanted them more than I did. So, but at least you've got a couple there. Have you ever read the dates? Have you ever tried to figure out if you've got a 1952? Let's see, what was the buffalo? I used to know the dates when they switched over to out of the buffalo head nickels, but maybe you've got some rare coins there.
No, these are definitely not rare ones, although I do collect coins myself, so I would have noticed that right off the get-go. No, these are actually the modern versions of the buffalo nickel, not the old ones.
Okay, just to make sure that sometimes you find some gems there. They're worth. You have your knobs will actually be worth more than the radio. Sounding good, a good back-to-back comparison. That's why I like the Old Tube Radio Network. We've got if you've got an E.F. Johnson Messenger, you just heard the difference between both amplified microphones. The radio typically came with a Johnson desk mic that wasn't amplified, and you can see that. Oh, wait a minute. Is your D104 amplified or not?
Yes, the Silver Eagle is an amplified.
Okay, just you can hear the difference in the tone quality, just different microphones. The +3 usually with a little bit more bass response, and the D104 with a little more treble response. Nice thing about the tube radios is it allows you to get a little bit of personality in there with your microphone. As of course, the AM mode helps as well. Want to say hello to Rob out there doing the FA thing. He says, besides enjoying OTR tonight, also listening to some of that heavy iron on 75 meters. Oh, that's right. The AM rally is tonight. Thanks, Rob. I totally forgot about that. And I know Ed, who's online with us now, is an amateur radio operator, he might want to check out. It's called the AM Rally, and I think it's tonight only, and it's an invitation to anybody and everyone that has the capability with amateur radio to get on. And if you don't have the big iron, if you don't have one of those E.F. Johnson radios that was made for the ham bands, to get your as the AM guys refer to them, one of your rice box radios, and find that AM selector knob, AM mode, and get the carrier down to 25 or 20 watts, and get out there and make a contact. He's saying W1QIX 50 over, 8 miles north of Pikes Peak, out there in Woodward Park, Colorado. Thanks, Rob. I totally wanted to mention that, and I forgot about that. So after the net tonight, I really don't have a great antenna. I was going to try and get something up tonight, just didn't have time to throw up the wire. But yeah, I would imagine if it's AM night from 3870 all the way up tonight, there's some good stuff going on, and they might have to go above and below that. So listen in on your SWLs out there. Go down to 75 meters, 3.870 and above, and put your switch on AM mode and listen to the AM Rally. It looks like it happens once a year, right in February. So if you can't make it tonight, get your station set up. Okay, Scott sidetracked there, Ed, but I bet you might be interested in tuning down here in some of the guys. Give us another transmission on your E.F. Johnson, and then we'll head over to a very patient 37.
Thank you very much for the information. As a matter of fact, I dialed it to 3870, and we'll be taking a check there. We'll report back momentarily with another tube radio. And good evening, Chris.
And good evening, Ed. I just dialed over to 3870, 3875. I got to get down there lower, but I'll be listening there and see what I can hear on that one, too.
All right, and believe it or not, some of the stations are going to be pretty, it's the AM nights, so I'm sure some of the guys are going to have their 365-watt AM carriers on there with 100% modulation, so even an 11-meter antenna on your 75-meter receiver might be hearing some good stuff tonight, or if you've got an SDR receiver that you can dial in, you will be enjoying that. All right, thanks for being patient, Chris. Radio 8 is what you've got for us tonight, over.
Yes, it is. Radio number 8. But yes, but it don't have an 8. Well, it does have 18. It has a channel 8, too, but I don't care about those. I like channel 11. But we'll just leave it there. So anyway, this is my G PowerMate Gem Marine Products. 23 channel that glows in the dark. The pretty blue one, it's got, let me see, is this one here got that one, or was it the other one? Yeah, this one here may have Mike getting back, I'm not sure. But it's working, but this is mine, and this one here, I'm running this here with the amplified D1. All
right. Don't wave that D104 around too much there. It's telling you it wants to stay stable. The Gem Marine Products G PowerMate, the picture we're showing is indeed the radio on which Chris is talking, I believe. Make that red light, let's see, change the light from green to red.
I'm keying down. I'm not seeing it turn red, though, but it is turning green with your receive on it. But yes, it is turning red on my end. Over.
All right, that's a good thing. It's supposed to do that when you key down. Gem Marine Products was the G PowerMate that Chris was talking on, one of the Panasonic chassis, I think, that a lot of manufacturers shared with that good plate modulation, always sounding good. Especially that one as well. We're glad you brought it by, and Radio 8 doing a good job. Back to you. Thanks for getting it on the Old Tube Radio Network tonight.
Yeah, I can actually see it, and I can hear it, too, when I unkey. But right now I hear you talking, but, of course, it's a delayed reaction. But anyway, Dennis, thank you, and I'm going to turn this one off and fire up another radio, see if I can get one more in there, maybe two more, you never know.
All right, we are here till at least 10 o'clock tonight. The Old Tube Radio Network, listening in and talking about those classic radios. Let's head over to we got the right buttons here in the studio fired up, we'll hear the Jingle Singers talking about that great place to be on Saturday nights.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you. Wherever you are, the friendliest station for you by far is known to all as
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
the station for you is
OTR.
Your Old Tube Radio Network, Real Radio's Glowing in the Dark, 27085 here in the Central Valley is where we're at frequency-wise tonight, and everywhere else at oldtuberadio.net. AM is a good mode. AM is a fun mode. Amplitude modulation, some famous celebrities you might hear tonight on the AM, on the AM rally. Who's out there? Bob Heil. Anybody know Bob Heil? He runs some classic AM gear. Also, somebody I know, Mike Durow from Durow Laboratories out there. I think he's down in Woodland Hills. He used to be anyway. He pioneered some great audio equipment for broadcasters. Worked at many places that use the Durow audio meters. And anybody know the Eagles? Joe Walsh of the Eagles is also an avid ham radio operator in the AM old tube radio mode. Joe might be on tonight on the West Coast. So here's some of those celebrities. Besides all of you, you are all celebrities here at the Old Tube Radio Network. We are listening for radio number 9.
Can I talk about quick keying? Wow.
All right, we've got 37 in there. You'll be the next tube radio. Chris, was there an SWL check-in?
45. 25.
All right, 45 and 25. Let's go in this order. 37, Chris will be radio 9. 45 will be radio 10. And 25 will be radio 11, all here on 27085 in the AM mode. Chris, you've got radio 9. Go ahead, over.
Okay, well, before I say anything about the radio now, we were talking about the celebrities. Remember, Tim Allen from Tool Time? He was a very avid ham operator also. Actually, on one of his programs, I can't remember the name of it, what was that? His family, he had nothing but girls. Well, I can't remember the name of the show now, but it's on there off and on. But he has his ham station. He talks on there. I don't know if anybody's talked to him, but he's pretty good at it. And also at this time, I would like to check in my Chris 23 Plus 23 channel tuber that glows in dark. And this one here is with the original handheld stock microphone. Over.
Well, I'll give you a tidbit of information. During dinner break of that show, which is no longer on the air, they would actually get on 20 meter and talk to you.
Yeah, they had a call. I stopped working for the ABC affiliate here that was carrying that show. Last Man Standing was the name of the show. So I never did get a chance to see much of it. But I can't remember. They had a call. I don't think it was Tim's call, but they used a call, or Tim used a call on that show, and I can't remember the info on that. But yes, indeed, like you said, you could talk to the guys, and they were pretty good about making sure that they were pretty accurate on how they did the radio. It wasn't just thrown in as a prop. It was actually done correctly. The Chris 23 Plus sounding pretty nice tonight, Chris, and another Panasonic chassis clone similar to the Gem Marine Products G PowerMate. That's why it sounds so good. I don't know if your microphones are compatible between the two of you. You ever check that out?
No, they won't go back and forth. So I think I tried it once before, and I don't think it would work. Let me try something here while we're doing this here. I'm going to plug this microphone here, and I'm going to plug the D104 into it. See if this one here will work on there. I don't think it will, but we're going to find out real quick if you got a second.
All right. Well, sometimes it's good to know if you're compatible before you do that. I don't know if those radios. Some radios can have like some voltage on the keying circuit that you don't like the Brownings. You've got to be careful. I have gotten shocked before with that voltage. So make sure that that you want to do that.
No, it's not compatible. I just plugged it in there and everything went dead. You know, it just knocks off the receive and everything automatically as soon as I plugged it in. So, no, it don't work with it.
Okay, no, some of the sonars are pretty compatible. Radio number 9, the Chris 23 Plus AM plate modulated, the 11-tube item. Also will go 12-volt DC if you have the right power cable. Operator's manual available at oldtuberadio.com. Give us another transmission, and we've got... Who's in the green room? Paul is coming up next, and then we're going to head out to Madera after that. But radio number 9 sounding good. Give us another transmission. Thanks, Chris.
Okay, Dennis, thank you for being there. I've got one more to go, but it's got to warm up, so you can almost guess what that one's going to be. I will return.
Yeah, that's the one I'm waiting for tonight for sure. Thanks for jumping around in the radio room, and I see that SWL 44 enjoyed the Gem Marine products. Let's head over to North Fork. Thanks for being patient, Paul. You've got radio number 10 tonight, over.
Okay, hope you can hear me down there. This is my Pierce Simpson companion.
Oh, good. I'm glad we've got a Pierce Simpson. It's been a while. I've got one here somewhere. We actually used it a few times to run the net. I don't have the companion. I've got the Guardian 23. I think the companion actually is a cooler-looking radio. It's got some nice, cool styling to it. A little bit mid-century modern. We'll get a picture up there, and I think we might even have, if not the one you're talking on, one very similar to it. It says it's from your collection. I'm not sure which one you got, but I like that radio. Here we go. Back to you.
Yeah, that's the radio I'm talking on right there. It's a purple radio. You can see the outline on the thing is purple. The whole case is purple. It's plastic. It's a plastic painted purple, and I think it's impregnated into the plastic to make the color because it's solid. Not bad looking. Different, that's for sure. I guarantee it. Back to you.
No, I agree. I think that's why I like it. It has a little bit different look to it. It even has, for those of you who are like me that really are into the tabletop AM broadcast radios of the late 50s or through the 50s and the 60s, this has a look. If I was not paying attention, I would almost say that was an AM broadcast radio. It has the big speaker grill and the colored plastic cases like that, where it was a little bit more decorative. Of course, it's got a microphone coming out the front, so that gives things away. But that tells you something. The Pierce Simpson may be queuing off of that, and this was an earlier radio than, I think, the Guardian 23 for sure, because that appears to not be a 23-channel radio. Is that correct?
No, it's not. It has 22-channel VFO, and then I believe it's 5 crystals transmit on the thing. And like I said, it's 22-channel VFO. It's funny they stopped at 22 channels, but that's it. So it's well, Pierce Simpson. It's a real nice. They made a whole bunch of Pierce Simpsons about 1963, 64. I think they knocked out about 3 or 4 different models. You probably remember that. But anyway, I'm talking on a hardwired microphone. It's an electric euphonics carbon stock microphone. Anyway, it's hardwired into the radio. It's got a yellow cord on it. The front of the radio is yellow. The microphone, yellow. I'm gray. The microphone is gray, and the front of the radio is gray, and the whole cabinet is purple. Take it from there. But it's talking. That's the latest. Back to you, Dennis.
It's talking, and it's talking well. You will enjoy hearing that on the Old Tube Radio Network archives, and it has all the trappings of early 60s CB radio. The hardwired microphone, no S-meter, not 23 channels. Great audio, by the way, and it looks like it might even have the external crystal socket in the front. I see something in there between all the knobs, and then the other giveaways, it's in Sam's CB4. So in the early runs of Sam's PhotoFax in the early 60s. Sounding really good. I'm enjoying seeing that radio, and I am enjoying hearing it as well. Radio number 10, getting us into double digits on the Old Tube Radio Network. Back to you for a transmission, and then we will head over to, I'm looking at my notes, I believe it's 25. But first, let's hear the Pierce Simpson one more time. We don't hear enough Pierce Simpsons out there.
Okay, well, you just have to about grapple this mic to get it to carbon mic so you can understand it. And it sounded good. That's unusual. Not really unusual, just a different sound. Interesting sound with a carbon mic. Kind of the older sound. I like it. Thanks, Dennis. 37.
And thank you for bringing it by. Sounding good. Chris, we'll put you in the green room. We'll be right back to you. You will be Radio 12. But first, let's head over to Jerry, who's got Radio 11 for us. Over.
Yeah, thanks, Dennis. Kind of doing a long key here, checking the frequency, and by golly, you know what? This radio is pretty much right on spot. Yeah, it is the Holocrafters Citizen, the little phone, Citizen CB3A. Over.
That is a good choice. I have a feeling that our Hallicrafters fans, of which I am one, I have my share of Hallicrafters here, will be liking the next couple of check-ins. CB3A, 3 Alpha. Let me grab a shot of the 3A, and we'll pop it up there. And I'm thinking, for the guys listening to the AM rally tonight, Hallicrafters, I've got an HT37. I bet there are some Hallicrafters big iron radios out there tonight. The HT32 transmitter, the HT37. What came after that? They actually put out like a 2,000-watt PEP. I think it was called their Hurricane. I think that was sideband, though. But anyway, Hallicrafters in good company tonight. Give us a transmission, and I'll get a picture of the infamous CB3A little phone up.
Yeah, okay, Dennis. And by the way, everyone's sounding great tonight. And Paul, that last Pierce Simpson was loud radio, sounded good. Good audio quality. I guess one of the options on this radio, Dennis, was the external meter, decimeter that's in front, and which I have, and it seems to be working. It's banging up and down as I talk. And I guess this also used as, receive too. But in any case, it has the VFO on the far left-hand side. And we are, in this particular radio, it is channel C, which is channel 11, Crystal, frequency 27085, and again, according to my frequency counter, it's right there, right on 27085. So, and it has a little, on the lower left-hand side, little orange button on the air button, and that's about it. It's pretty simple radio. Talking on a non-powered D104. Back to you, Dennis.
Boy, sounding great. I think originally those came with a carbon microphone, but the D104 non-amplified is just perfect. It gives it a nice little high-frequency punch and a great audio to boot. 8 channels, and you can see across the front, if you're looking at the video or over at ultraradio.net, it looks like they gave you spots to either maybe manually write in. I wonder if when you bought the radio, it had the little appliques in the box where you could paste it down there, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, for the 8 channels, and then you could write in the channels. Or maybe they were pre-written in, I don't know. And Jerry mentioned the 2 options, a radio with options like buying a car. Remember back in the days it has radio heater, white wall tires, or not. The box, the 2 rectangular boxes, the one we're showing has the S-meter, and it does not have the punched out square there, rectangle for the VFO, which Jerry actually has. So you got a full-fledged CB3A, and thanks for the channel C. I always wonder where channel 11 might show up. So that probably tells me that radio might have some channels below 11. Came out in 1963, believe it or not, and it only runs 7 tubes. Does a good job for 7 tubes. I'm going to have you take another transmission before we continue on, but I really enjoy you bringing the Hallicrafters out tonight. And like I said, it reminds us that Hallicrafters, one of the companies like E.F. Johnson that was in the business for quite a while, Bill Halligan and the guys and the crew from the early 1900s making receivers and televisions and all sorts of good stuff. And like a lot of the manufacturers, when they were still making things in the US of A, getting into the 11-meter style craze as well. Back to you, and thanks for bringing it by, Jerry.
Hey, Dennis, my pleasure, and I believe you had a Holocrafters item of interest over there. I believe it's the 1000 or the 9000, which is actually a turntable component system. So, yeah, Holocrafters did all kinds of stuff, and they're still around, or at least their products are still around. Anyway, thanks, Dennis, for doing what you do, and thanks for checking it in. Back to you.
Leave yet, Jerry.
And thanks for bringing it by. I'll have to remember, I've got a Hallicrafters FM 1000. I started my CB career with the Hallicrafters CB11A 100 milliwatt walkie-talkies back in the late 1960s. I'll bring the 1000A out sometime and just physically show it. Normally I could run across the room and turn it on and we get some audio, but I'm so wired in now with headphones and kiddies, it's a little hard to jump out of the seat. Chris, you are next at Radio 12. Before we go too much farther, we're talking about AM tonight and the Hallicrafters and the great AM radios. If you go to oldtuberadio.net, there is a link in the comments section. The last comment, there is an HTTP link that will take you into an SDR receiver. And if it's free, there's a couple of them. It's on the West Coast, actually. It's out by it's north of Santa Cruz, Half Moon Bay. And you can dial into that, and once you kind of get your bearings, kick the thing up to 75 meters, it will go there and dial in 3870, 3880. It's an SDR display, so you will see the waterfall display, and you will probably see some AM. I used it last week when Ray told us about it, and that's exactly what I did. I went to the AM mode. It'll kick in a 6 kilohertz filter, and you'll be able to hear the guys doing the thing tonight. So that's a good way, and it's great, and it's using the antenna of a ship-to-shore broadcasting station, one of those 3 calls, and I'm going to say it wrong. I'm going to say KLM, but it's got a great antenna. It tells you about the antenna. The antenna weighs, it's got about 900 pounds of wire on this great SWL antenna. So the link is at the top in the comments section at old@tuberadio.net, and you might kick in, maybe the radio's already there, but you'll be able to dial it in. Okay, let me stop talking. We'll continue on. We've got Radio 12. I've got my pen ready to write down another Hallicrafters because I think I know what you got. Hello, Chris.
Hello, Dennis. Well, we are going to check in our Citizens Little Phone Hallicrafters model CB3A, a 8-channel transceiver, and this one here is on channel E. For channel 11, Jerry, E11. C, what does that count to? What's that letter C? I can't think of it. What trillions? But yeah, this is channel E for 11, or efficiency, or excellency, whichever you want to call it. But we are running this in here with the original handheld carbon stock microphone.
And Jerry was running his with the D104, which sounded good, but there is the classic sound. That is the sound of the Hallicrafters out of the box with the carbon microphone that it came with, and it's doing a good job as always. And I think that is your collection, and I think you've got everything in.
Yeah, all 5 of them. That's all I got, unless Jerry wants to bring some over here since he ain't got room. All right, so I got spot for 2 more radios down here, Jerry.
Oh, you've made some space for some more tube radios, I say, huh?
Oh, yeah, in case Jerry gets tired of using that Eagle or whatnot, bring it over here and stick it down here.
All right, well, somehow I don't think that radio his Eagle is going to go anywhere, but as long as it checks in, I guess it doesn't matter where it might be, as long as it can check into the old Tube Radio Network once in a while. Thanks, Chris. Radio 12 is sounding good over.
Okay, well, I was going to say that Eagle's supposed to have wings, right? It could fly its way over here.
I bet he's got it tied down. Speaking about flying over, the Jingle Singers flying to the ribbon microphone on the Old Tube Radio Network.
You're listening in the latest style. That's
27.085 megahertz.
on your dial. That's
Channel 11 Old Tube Radio.
in wonderful.
Fresno, California.
And we are looking for Radio 13. I would try to stream the SDR receiver, but my bandwidth is pretty narrow, and I'm doing video and audio already, so don't want to mess things up. Maybe in the future, when we upgrade to some higher speed, we'll be able to do some interesting things like that. See what else is going on other frequencies. Before we sign out tonight, hello to those listening at oldtuberadio.net. We've got a lot of people out there here in California, of course, in Hemet and Madera, Fresno, Visalia, tuning in. I'm not sure if all those stations can hear us at 27085, but the old tuberadio.net works pretty good. Our technical crew at Lawrence, Kansas, keeping the Nixie tubes running and checking things out. Hello to Colorado, Georgia, Texas, New York, also Iowa, Washington, Utah, Kansas, and a host of others listening in for the Old Tube Radio Network, listening for Radio 13.
Number 7.
Hello, 7, over.
This time, the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB.
All right, the Eagles have landed yet again and are not quite running away with things yet tonight. I see you've got it into the ping that works well for net controllers who are wearing headphones.
Yes, this is the mellow ping, and also this time, instead of using the banana mic, I have a gold-plated limited edition D104 Golden Eagle.
Which is a good match for that. And if you're speaking, I guess, visually, a really good match for that radio.
Eagle matches up real well, and I tried a number of microphones on it, and this one seems to do pretty well, so I figured, what the heck, leave the nice gold-plated version with the Gold Eagle.
Absolutely, the Eagle on the Eagle, putting in some good audio tonight for Radio 13, and sounding pretty good. Let me give you the classic signal report on the next transmission.
The good old signal report. Well, mine only goes to 40, and you hit me dead on the 40, so hopefully I'm somewhere near that.
Well, let's see. I don't have any preamps turned on. I do have the RF gain rotated back, but that doesn't affect my S meter. And you are 20 dB over S9 when you're not talking, and when you modulate, it goes even more than that.
Well, there we go. A little bit of forward is always a good thing.
Pretty easy to do on a plate-modulated radio like that one. Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB is Radio 13 tonight as we have time for more radios. That says we are winding down, but there's still plenty of time if you're thinking about checking something in, and we've got room on the list. Thanks for bringing by the Eagle.
Break OTR.
The break OTR, go ahead, please. Over.
Hello, Dennis. Hope you're doing well. 70, check-in, please.
All right, SWL7070. Hello, Mark. I've got you on the big board. Let me do the analog pages here. And put the X on the square, the Morgan Canyon Magician. I don't know if you are set up on the HF radio side with antennas over there, but we've got the AM rally going on tonight on, let's see, right now for us here on the West Coast, the lower bands, or the higher bands, I guess, the lower frequencies, up there on 75 meters. If you want to hear some AM 3870 and above, probably heading on now with some good AM stuff. But right here on 11 meters, the AM is sounding also good. Thanks for checking in.
Right back at you. Interesting. Maybe I'll check that out a little later on. Don't talk on HF AM ever. I listen once in a while. I hear
saw those guys out there, but I've never done it, but interesting. All right, man, thanks. Have a good one.
All right, I guess that's what the AM rally is kind of about. It's to sneak people up to the frequencies and say, you know, that mode switch you've got that's always an LSB or USB, kick it over to AM and crank your 100 watt radio down to about 20 or 25 watts and get a resonant antenna and see if we can hear you. At least warm up the tuner anyway. Sounding good, Mark. Thanks for checking in.
45.
And there's a guy who's no stranger to AM. Hello, Paul. See if the receiver is working. Hello, 45. Over.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's on my end here. No problem. Not having a good luck with them tonight. Anyway, I want to check in my Pierce Simpson Guardian.
Okay, what was we had earlier was the Pierce Simpson Companion, which was an earlier Pierce Simpson. The Guardian, I believe, a little bit later in the 1960s, and you should have a little bit more on the front end of that radio, too, I think.
I'm sorry, Guardian 23, 1964, when it was made.
The Guardian 23. Let me grab a picture of the 23. I know that radio because I have one hanging around here. Great little receiver. Also has good audio as well. Like the other Guardian. Pierce Simpson had a great designer of radios. It wasn't. They just kind of weren't utility with. You know, here's the radio. They really went into some design concepts to make it look like something, you know, if it looked like an AM broadcast radio or something that you would want to have out in the living room, or maybe you could sneak in on the kitchen table or something like that. But the Guardian 23 is no exception. We'll grab a picture of one, and let's hear another transmission from yours. Over.
Yeah, well, they're still all plastic, and the front end has purple in it. You can see that dark area in the picture on it, you make it or not, but it's purple. So they like purple for some reason. And the rest of the case is blue and silver and a little goldish on the front. It's a very nice looking radio, this right here. But it's all plastic. Ventilation on it surprised me. They don't have real good ventilation on these things, but apparently they're big enough. But you can see on the side, that's all the ventilation they got besides on the back. So other than that, it's just a sharp looking radio, real nice looking woman radio.
I agree. It's one of my favorite classic designs. Sort of has a what I call a Frank Lloyd Wright with the squares. If you ever look at some of the window dressings that they do in the mid-century modern houses or furniture like that, it has that kind of look to it. Big front fire speaker, and I agree with you. All the radios, of course, I don't think any of them had internal fans. They're all convection cooling, meaning they use the vents. But as you can see from the picture, if you're at alternativeradio.net or watching the video, that is a solid top. So you might be able to cook your steak on the top after you've got that thing fired up for a couple of hours. But unlike transistors, tubes are okay with the heat typically. It's the other components and transformers and that don't like the heat, but the tubes are okay with that. I guess my one pet peeve with that radio is the windows that house the S meter. And then there's a modulation light, sort of a neon-looking light that's in one of the slots there next to the channel selector, are a little bit on the skinny side. So you have to kind of peer down in the radio to give somebody a signal report. Over.
I don't see it. I see a modulation light on the right-hand side flashing. It's after the meter is kind of flat and small. You got to get up pretty close to really see it. Like you say, the channel selector isn't bad because it's well lit. But they gotta increase the size of the thing a little bit back to you.
Yeah, it is definitely not a tram. The TR-27E with a giant meter, that's a small meter, but it fits in there ergonomically, I guess, in that little window. So they wanted to, I think they were going for more design than utility there. Sold for $300. I'm surprised. Was a high dollar in 1964, but then again, it was top of the line with all 23 channels and crystals supplied. S-meter. They had something called a heterosync circuit. There was their copyrighted feature, dual conversion superhet receiver with low noise. Oh, it had a new Vista front end, so that's one reason the receive is nice on there. Superior squelch circuit illuminated S-meter. If you can find the S-meter, illuminated S-meter channel selector and modulation indicator easily provides a full 5-watt legal input by operating at 50% of its full load capability. Reading off the ad here. And there is, if you're looking for a schematic, anybody looking for a schematic for the Pierce Simpson Guardian 23, there is one available at oldtuberadio.net. Radio 14 we're talking with now, that's Paul up in the hills above Fresno here with his Pierce Simpson Guardian 23. Back to you.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm using a ceramic stock Euphonics microphone. It has Pierce Simpson written right on the front of it. It's totally stock, and I think it sounds pretty good, but I'm having to get into it pretty heavy here to make the modulation up. Is it clear enough down there?
Yeah, it's clear. That's what it is. It's not super loud, but I wouldn't say that it's undermodulated at all. And those radios really do work nice with a little bit of amplification on the audio. So if you find a microphone that'll work with some amplification, you can do that, but you definitely don't need it for checking in here on Saturday nights. Over.
Okay. Well, I probably got another one just like radio like this, and I think it's got a power mic on thing, so maybe next time I'll check it in. Thanks, Dennis.
All right. Thank you, sir. Radio 14, as we are rounding out, we're going to do some counting and amounting. Let the jingle singers tell us what's going on here, the magic of the Old Tube Radio Network. And if you have an Old Tube Radio, go ahead and fire it up. Get it checked in before we sign off tonight here on the Old Tube Radio Network.
Magic numbers.
27.0.
Oh, we've got some problems with the jingle singers tonight.
Right here in
Fresno, California.
Radio Magic.
Old Tube Radio.
For you.
Let's see here. Hello. Breaker OTR.
Breaker OTR in the high-speed mode. Go ahead.
Okay. Let's see. Audio. Hello. Okay. All right. I'm trying to adjust this thing. Hello. Let me, I gotta turn off the stream here. Okay, makes that better. Hello. Hello, radio. This is, all right, this is SWL number 40, checking in on Old Tube Radio.
All right, sounds like you're getting it dialed in there nicely. You need, when you're listening to doing the stream audio check, you either need some nice headphoniums like I've got here, or maybe some earbuds. And if you've got a way to plug those in, it will help out for the feedback. It makes it even more hard to speak depending on the delay, but at least you'll hear when you make a dial in a selection or a change, you'll be able to comprehend it better. You are Radio 15. Tell us about your tube radio.
Okay. The tube radio is what is this thing? This is the Gemtronics GTX 5000 with the Turner Expander 500 microphone, and I had to modify this microphone to key up easier by removing its I removed the push-to-talk bar, so I've got a little. I'm actually holding the handle of a paintbrush into the chassis of the microphone to push the actual switch mechanism to key the radio down. Over.
Okay, I noticed from, I don't know, it was last week when you checked the radio and last, there was a lot of sort of fisticuffs going on with the microphone and keying things down, but it seems to be a little bit more deliberate here tonight when you initially key up the radio, it stays keyed, so your paintbrush is working quite well.
Yes. Yeah, it's a lot. I'm actually pushing down on the switch that keys instead of the bar that pushing down on my finger and then the bar and then pushing down on the switch. Now it's direct. It's a paintbrush pushing down on the switch. So, and I'm able to. I'm able to listen to myself. I'm listening to myself on my radio through headphones. And let's see, I can play around with the audio. Oh yeah, I noticed a little bit of a audio change there. Oh wow. How about those snozzling snossages?
I think you got a little too much sizzle in your sausage. It sounds like you went into a phone patch. Your prior audio to that was actually very nice, not overmodulated, good in tone qualities. I'm not sure. I guess that microphone must have some type of a low-frequency roll-off or what they call a high-pass or low-pass filter. But I think where you were previous is, again, who am I to say what you want to sound like? But for pleasant quality, your original issue there was not bad.
Oh, roger that. And, hello. Oh, yeah, that's very, let's see, hello. Right about, just this thing here. Hello. Audio. Hello. Oh, I'll bet you that sounds, pretty good right there. Hello. Radio.
That's not bad. The level went down a little bit. There was a crackle crunch, and your level dropped just a little bit. So not quite as much audio as you were producing before, but sounding good. The Gemtronics GTX 5000, that's the radio Larry was talking on our 15th radio of the evening. Similar to the Robin T240D, the T-Berry T, the Shakespeare, the Colt, all that Panasonic chassis that in 1976 went from 23 channels to 40 channels. With however they did it, and doing a good job. So I think you've got it dialed down. It's always nice to have a way to listen in the audio stream. We do archive, so you'll be able to hear some of the ex post facto changes that you made. It's doing a good job. Let me go back to you for transmission, then we'll see if we've got anybody else before we sign out of here. Over.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Yeah. Yeah, this is a nice microphone. It just was designed wrongly. The mechanical part of it is designed wrong. So, let's see. The temperature of the radio is very warm. It's lukewarm on one side and very warm to almost hot on the other side of the radio, and operating at normal parameters. Let's see, yep, I'm modulating the modulation circuits. Hello. Well, not a whole lot of forward swing on the radio. Maybe I should do that, find that diode to pull for more modulation. Back to you.
Yeah, Colt, remove the limiter by clipping D601. Taking limiter out really gives you the mic audio more highs and lows range, which it's got a lot of highs when you run the microphone down, but then you got to be careful. If that microphone's got some compression or limiting, it might help out. But it's not bad. The audio's nice and punchy. Not super loud, but obviously with amplification, you can make it that way. All right, thanks, Larry. Hope you were able to discern some items of interest there by listening to yourself, and we're glad you checked in on the Gemtronics. Are there any other stations that would like to get checked in on the Tube radio list, or maybe SWL, before we sign out for the evening?
Let's do some spelling.
OTR. 27.085 megahertz. Channel 11, Old Tube Radio. Old Tube Radio.
The Old Tube Radio Network. And just a reminder, as we've been talking about this evening, as Rob in Colorado mentions, the AM rally going on any of the amateur radio AM frequencies. Right now, the one to listen to, 20 meters, I'm sure, the band is closed. But down in 75 meters, probably 3870. That'd be a good place to start here on the West Coast. Listen to the big iron guys on the AM radios that run a little bit more than 5 watts out of the box. An annual event. I don't know how long they've been doing it. Not too long, but it's called the AM Rally, and it's really, one, to get you to use your AM radio, and two, for those who may not have been on the AM mode before. A lot of the stations are going to be listening for you to get on that AM, to put your radio into the AM mode and fire up that way. So if you'd like to listen in, Ray has given us a link. Go to the comments section. You will see it's an HTTP link that will call up on your universal media device an SDR receiver, which you can actually get in, dial up the frequency. It's got a nice waterfall display to see the spectrum. Turn up the audio and put the thing on 75 meters, 3870. You'll be able to click around and hear that. And it's a station out near Half Moon Bay on the coast of California, with this awesome log periodic wire antenna that weighs hundreds and hundreds of pounds of wire. So if there's any guys on tonight on the West Coast, you will hear them through that. Of course, you can always try your own radio on various antennas and listen in that way for the AM going on here tonight and the AM rally. Before we sign off, any other stations wanting to come in before we count them out tonight?
OTR. Channel 11.
Right here in
Fresno, California.
Stay with us
Old Tube Radio.
and be modern.
Ladies and gentlemen, time now for the current OTR total.
The current final totals. We wrap up another Old Tube Radio Network here. Wow. They are wanting to get out of the building. That's the fanfare. Always means we will find out what we did tonight. How many radios came by? How many SWLs? We had 11 SWLs check-in on page 1, 18 on page 2, 15 on page 3, and 19 on page 4. Good night tonight with over 63 SWLs checking in. We are on week 5 of this 8-week roster. I don't think we added anybody new to the list. And 15 radios checking into the night. There's something in the air. There's some AM magic going on tonight, whether it's here on 11 meters or down on 75 meters or maybe on 20 meters. The AM rally is out there, and a lot of you sort of picked up that AM vibe and checked in tonight. As for the most heard manufacturer, I think we have something that doesn't happen quite often, and that's a multiple-way tie between the General Radio Telephones at 2, the Brownings at 2, the E.F. Johnsons at 2, the Pierce Simpsons at 2, and the Hallicrafters at 2. So we're spreading the wealth tonight between the manufacturers. Started off with Jill on the Sonar Model G, very loud tonight. So thank you, Jill, for running out to the Radio Shack and waving a hand to all of us here on the Old Tube Radio Network. Paul doing a good job, as always, out in North Fork with his General Radio Telephone, the SB72. A little bit of interesting things with the carrier. Wasn't the audio, the microphone per se, it was actually on the carrier. If you listen to the archives, Paul, you will hear the cutting out of the microphone, or the cutting out of the audio, let me put it that way. And that was not the microphone, it was actually the signal, the carrier cutting out, like you were running a suppressed carrier, and then when you introduced audio, the carrier would come back up. So that was the issue there, even though it's hard to tell by listening to the audio part of it. Radio number 3, Chris on his General Radio Telephone Super MC11A, one of the General Radio Telephones tonight, followed by Jerry, SWL25 on his Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB. The Courier Royale was Radio 5 from Chris. Radio 6 was SWL84. Good to hear Jerry in there. On the E.F. Johnson Messenger 223, made an adjustment of lowering the mic gain and really making that radio sound good. You get a chance, Jerry, to listen to the archives. You'll hear the difference between, what is it, number 11 and number 7 on the audio. Sounds really good. Followed by the E.F. Johnson Messenger 223 without the modulation light from Mr. Ed, SWL7. Thanks for that. Radio 7, that was, let's see, Radio 8 was Chris on his Gem Marine Products G Power Mate, followed by his Chris 23 Plus for Radio 9. Radio 10 tonight, Paul on the Pierce Simpson Companion, one of the 2 Pierce Simpsons that came by tonight. To Radio 11 was the Hallicrafters CB3A from SWL25, and we followed that with another Hallicrafters CB3A little phone from SWL37 for Radio 12. Radio 13 tonight, Mr. Ed on the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB. Paul came back with his final radio of the evening and another Pierce Simpson, the Guardian 23, their top-of-the-line model for 1964 with S-meter, 23 channels, and all the good stuff that you'd want in there if you had $300 back in the day. That would probably buy a good, nice black and white console TV then as well, maybe. Maybe not a nice one. For $300, you get something. So that'd be a good way to spend it, get the Pierce Simpson Guardian 23. And then the final radio of the evening, Radio 15, was Larry on his Gemtronics GTX 5000. A reminder that you can hear the replay of your station if you go to oldtuberadio.net and click on the archive button. We keep those up for a long time. We also keep the video up for a while if you'd like to hear it that way. Do this every Saturday at 8 p.m. Pacific Time. Channel 11, 27085 is the frequency. If you can tune us in direct, otherwise catch us at oldtuberadio.net. Thanks to our tube radio operators and collectors that keep us on the air. We've been doing this for well over 30 years on a Saturday evening, and it's fun, and we kind of promote not only the old tube radios, but just getting on the air, getting away from the diversions of other media, whether it's television or broadcast radio, or maybe all those little funky iPhones and things that people do these days, and get back on the old CB radio, two-way communications, where you don't have to type to anybody. You can fire up the microphone and talk, and we appreciate those of you who take the time from your Saturday evening activities and actually say hello to us. 73, everybody. The Old Tube Radio Network will be back next week, and we hope you had a good time tonight. I know I sure did. We'll catch you next time.
Great net as always, Dennis, and one question. Did Phil check in at all tonight?
Yes, he did. He checked in his SWL radio, and I think he even had a question for us, and he's probably out in the secret shop doing his secret things tonight.
Okay, I didn't hear him. I just wanted to make sure that everything was okay. All right, thank you.
And the break OTR, let's add, we had 63 SWL check-ins tonight. I think we're going to make it 64. Go ahead.
195, awfully late tonight.
All right, well, we haven't shut it down yet. And I thought, well, I wasn't sure if it was an early evening for you. Sometimes it is, and if it was late evening. So it's a late evening. So you answered my question, and SWL 195 with the check-in. Thanks.
Thank you, Dennis, very much.
And we'll talk to you all later, 73 on the video stream. We'll catch you next time.